obviously extremely happy for our guys. With what they've had to grow through and the experiences they've had, they haven't always been positive, but the persistence and perseverance to stick with it, to stay with the plan, to, as somebody wrote on the board after the game, trust the process, as they hear me say a gabillion times, and stay with it. And this group obviously is taken some lumps, had a lot of learning experiences, but the only way you learn from adversity and learn how to handle it is to go through it, and that's how you force growth. And I think this group, obviously tonight defensively, I've seen a lot of really good defensive efforts. This is probably ranks right up there in terms of the job they did. They were engaged. They were, for the most part, right spot, right time. They've grown. They've improved, and that's an area that has been a point of emphasis forever. But with this group, you have to get the experience in order to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And obviously we saw a lot of what doesn't work at West Lafayette, both from a defensive standpoint and how you need to take care of the ball and what that leads to. So I thought those two areas that have always been staples here, it was good to see those things be pretty good, those couple things.
Greg, you've talked a lot about just being good at times defensively but not consistent for 40 minutes. Was that the key tonight, just kind of every segment of the game you just kind of stayed consistent on that end of the court?
Yeah, I thought we competed at a pretty high level in terms of we were physical. We were, especially down that first half in front of me. I can tell how physical it is in the paint with guys, and I could tell guys were locked in. There was some bodies hitting, and that told me mentally they were there, and we were, for the most part, right there on every chase. We made a couple mistakes on the threes that they got in the first half, that Carson got in the first half, but by and large we were pretty good and where we needed to be, and we needed to make a few more shots. Would have made the first half a little better, but that's how it is. You want to play in the upper echelon of this league, you've got to play. You got to guard on, and you got to do it for 40 minutes, and it's a very typical Big Ten grinder.
A little more on the defense. I can't remember at what point you put Iverson on Carson Edwards, but what did he do to specifically to slow him down? And can you run us through the play on the left wing where I think you're up 4, Edwards has a three-pointer shot, and Khalil blocks it clean?
I'd used Brad on him and went with a smaller lineup with the intent that we were more mobile, specifically to handle. Vince Edwards is like another guard out there, so it gave us a little more mobility. But obviously it makes us smaller on the offensive end. So I flipped Khalil on him when I thought Brad was getting tired. I could tell in the timeout he was breathing pretty heavy, and he had that look in his face. And he'll never tell me that he's tired. I have to make that decision on him. I ask guys, and he'll never tell the truth on that regard. But and plus the other thing, it puts a different look on him. It puts a little different, a longer guy on him. And I haven't seen a three-point shot blocked in a critical time since Jordan Taylor blocked Jacob Poolins in the NCAA tournament when we were playing Kansas State, in terms of a critical moment, and a very similar type of play. So that was a big play. Obviously there's a lot of big plays, but I thought our perimeter people did a really good job on their perimeter guys.
Coach, hosting a team like Purdue, I doubt your guys had to get up anymore, but did you think that Ethan had a little bit more of a jolt with Frank being in the building and kind of what this night meant to Frank?
Well, that's obviously a question for them. I think the biggest thing was when you have that type of emotional event, that only lasts for about 2 minutes, and then you got to play. So the biggest thing is we needed to play better. We need to be better defensively. We need to take care of the ball. We need to play better in longer stretches. We've done it in short spurts, but we haven't done it well enough. And part of that's the inconsistency comes when you have new faces on the block. And tonight we were as consistent defensively as we've been maybe all year. And obviously I think we did just enough offensively and to be able to get the victory. But I'm sure, I know it means a lot to our players to have Frank, and then not only Frank, but everybody else that was here. I mean, it was like a who's who in the locker room. That's why I'm all wet. They all dumped water on me, including all the alumni. But it's good to have all those guys back, and to be able to play like this in front of them it's good for, obviously it sends a good message, and That's what my message was to the team. You want to say thanks to Frank. You want to say thanks to all the alumni. The best way to show respect and give your thanks and your salute, go out and play really well. And I think they really they honed in and were, like I said, engaged and connected for 40 minutes.
You've been asked about Ethan before. Sometimes in the first half he doesn't hit shots, whether he's rushing or probing too much. What was the difference tonight? Because in the second half he was much more effective, maybe going with his left hand more?
Well, we looked at things with technology. We can look at all the shots and whatever we want at halftime and just trying to give him some advice on what to maybe take better angles, work to get a better angle, maybe not try to go over him all the time, try to work an angle to get a better sight line on the rim and obviously use the glass. But, you know, he did. He finished his body. You know, I can tell that when I get to the films, but in terms of body positioning and where he jumps towards. Does he jump out of bounds? Does he jump towards the square? I think he finished with his shoulder square more tonight and did a good job of slowing down and taking his time in the second half.
Coach, you went to Nate pretty early in the first half, and then for the rest of the game it seemed like it was mostly the starters. Was that just a product of the way guys were playing, or was it a matchup issue?
Well, Nate got 2 fouls in the first half, so he had to sit for a while. And then I was just jockeying, knowing that we were going to have to play small, or I liked our matchups with them being smaller defensively. So it was some jockeying there. And I keep asking guys in timeouts, how are they doing and who's on a roll, who's feeling well. So it was more by what I saw out there. There was a couple times I think they didn't go with 2 bigs at all this game, but sometimes it's gut feel, sometimes it's look on their faces. Tonight early it was obviously Nate's foul trouble, but you know they all contributed in whatever way they can.
Greg, what did you see out of your team and the poise just to have a lead and to not lose it over those last few minutes and be in that position against a really, really good team?
Well, we did a good job of taking care of the ball down the stretch. We were able to get to the free throw line. We made just enough of them. We were able to make enough plays. And then I think, you know, defensively, we were able to do some things and make, you know, life pretty tough for them at times. You know, we had the foul there at the end on the 3-point on Edwards shooting the 3. You know, that was probably the only mistake that in terms of other than them just trying to make plays over the top of us. And so we just kept our poise. I mean, they didn't get rattled. They've been in enough of these, and hopefully over time, younger guys figure out how important every possession is, and that's always something younger players and obviously newcomers struggle to not embrace it, but understand how important every possession is, that you can't let 1 or 2 or 3 slip away in the first half, how important they are and how they resonate throughout the game, and they can, you know, 2 possessions of bad defense or 3 possessions of bad offense can have an impact at any point in time, and we were pretty solid down the stretch.
Greg, after that first Purdue game, Brad Davison was really down on himself because he admitted he didn't play well. What stands out from what he was able to do tonight, whether it was offense, finding guys open like the pass to Khalil for the dunk, or, you know, working on defense?
Well, I think the one thing is he's getting a better understanding, even though he's playing out of position and playing with one arm. We have all heard that many times, but he's starting to really appreciate how important valuing the ball is, how important like I just mentioned, every possession. So being a point guard, it's a lot better to have 1 turnover than 7, like he had it in West Lafayette. So, you know, and defensively, he went back and forth between a couple guys. I'm sure he'll sleep well tonight because he's pretty exhausted. But he, you know, he's an extremely tough competitor. He practices exactly how he plays. You know, he never wants to come out of the game. So, you know, I'm glad he's on my team. I know that, and we'll have him for, you know, a few more years yet. But, you know, he's learning and growing. He made a couple mistakes, but he's resilient. He keeps bouncing back.